Let's bring you some news update at this time. Leader of the proscribed Islamic Movement of Nigeria, Sheikh Ibrahim El-zakzaky, is now a free man. That's after a court judgment discharged and acquitted him of all the charges preferred against him and his wife. And after standing trial for the past 4 years on an 8-count charge, Mr. El-Zakzaky and his wife can now walk freely again. Their freedom came after a ruling that lasted over 8 hours, where the presiding judge, Justice Gideon Kurada, upheld the no-case submission filed by Sheikh Ibrahim El-Zakzaky and his wife. Lupe Assam reports.
It's another day in court in a case between the Kaduna state government and the leader of Islamic Movement in Nigeria, Sheikh El-Zakzaky and his wife Zina. As usual, security is tight at the Kaduna State High Court, where the presiding judge, Gideon Kurada, is expected to rule on the no-case submission filed at the last sitting by the counsel to the IMN leader, Femi Falana. But today, the Islamic cleric and his wife are brought to court by the Nigerian Correctional Service officers, accompanied by heavy security. For over 3 years, the Shiite leader has been standing trial on an 8-count charge bordering on alleged culpable homicide, unlawful assembly, disruption of public peace, among others. The prosecuting counsel also presented 15 witnesses to testify against the defendant. The ruling on Wednesday lasted for over 7 hours, and after, Justice Kurada upholds the no-case submission of the IMN for failure of the prosecuting counsel to justify any connection between the alleged crimes and El-Zakzaky.
You cannot arraign a man for an offense that was allegedly committed, as at the time the said crime was not an offense. And the court was very emphatic in that yes, the Kaduna State government has powers to enact laws, but they cannot enact laws to prosecute an offense retrospectively. On that first ground, the court held that that charge is incompetent. On another footing, and while looking at the no-case submission we filed in court, the court agreed with us that the trial is, after all, a charade. That the trial and the prosecution witnesses only came to court to tell stories that are at gross variance with the offenses that were alleged in the said charges. The court entered a defense of discharge and acquittal for Zakzaky and his wife. The court was emphatic in holding that there is no charge, that there should not have been a charge against Zakzaky and the wife in the first place.
Sheikh El-Zakzaky was arrested in December 2015 following an alleged clash between his followers and the convoy of the then Chief of Army Staff, General Tukur Yusuf Buratai, in Zaria. He was also held in custody of the DSS despite orders for his release by 2 different courts. With the permission of the High Court in Kaduna State, Sheikh El-Zakzaky and his wife left to India for medical attention in August 2019. He has on his return remained in the Nigerian Correctional Service custody. His appearance in court on Wednesday marks the second time in 27 court appearances that the IMN leader will be brought to the court. Lupe Assam, TVC News, Kaduna.
All right, joining me for this discussion is strategy consultant Dipo Oyewale. Dipo, good morning. Thank you for joining us on TVC Breakfast.
Good morning.
Discharged and acquitted. That is what we saw at the end of the day with this case, despite the drama, the protests, the twists, the turns. It ended as discharged and acquitted, and that the case lacked merit. I wonder if that was what you saw or envisaged that will happen at the end of the day with this case.
Honestly, I wasn't quite sure how this was going to shake out because they'd been having a back and forth on this for years. I remember 2019 when he was ill and then he had to be flown out of the country.
To India.
Yes, to India. And then there was the debacle of he was trying to be extracted by some Iranians and all that drama. And then he had to bring him back to the country saying that he wasn't ill and then that he was eating a cow a day and all of that. But for me, I think that it is quite surprising how the whole thing turned out. But for me, I'm more concerned about the credibility of the government in this case, because now you're telling me that you've held someone in custody for no reason, for 4 years thereabout, on charges that the
it's
court
said to be lacking in merit.
Lacking in merit. So the question is, did that really have to happen? Why wasn't this taken care of as soon as possible and they moved on from it? We've seen different protests. We've had different conversations.
Some persons died because of the process.
Yes, in the process. So for me, was all that necessary? Was it necessary? Because for me, I think that the government, they really, really need to be very concerned about the credibility with issues like this. That for me is very, very concerning. Very, very concerning. Because this was a case where there've been a lot of eyeballs on it. A lot of people have been very concerned to see how it will shake out, and then now he's a free man. So the question is, all along, what were you doing? Why were you holding him
in custody?
In custody.
Absolutely. And because the movement, the Islamic movement, is reacting, saying that their leader and his wife were only victims of impunity and mischievous plots by the federal government and Kaduna State.
Of course they would say that, because I mean that's what it's looking like. And now you've given them a very, very huge platform to say what they want to say in defense of their leader. And they had always said that, oh, he was innocent, there was no reason for you to hold him. And then he said, no, you had different charges you were holding him on, they were legitimate. But now the courts have spoken, and the courts have said that he has to be a free man.
Right. Now, what does that even say of the justice system that was also prosecuting this case over the years? Why did it take them so long to be able to come to this conclusion? Because that's also the question on the minds of a lot of persons. Are we saying the judicial system has been, infiltrated, or is being used as a tool by the government? Is that what we are seeing? Is that what this is lending credence to?
Well, it is possible. I wouldn't say definitively, but it is possible, because now the question is, how come the case also dragged along all this while in court? Now, it's not just about maybe not presenting him in courts, because we've had cases like that as well, where there was supposed to be a sitting and then they don't bring him to show up, and then the judge has to postpone it and all of that. So for me, I think it was a game to them, and for me, I think it is quite embarrassing saying that the judiciary was, I would say, complicit in this, because for me, I think that is one part of government that everyone anywhere in the world should have some confidence in.
Because it's often said that it is the last hope of the common man.
Yes, so then saying that they had to somehow play along to see that the whole thing was delayed and dragged out all along, for me, it is also quite disturbing. It is also quite disturbing.
For a country practicing democracy, it's quite disturbing. Now,
yes,
we already know the case we have on the ground now. The eyeballs are on Nigeria with regards to the Sunday Igboho matter.
Yes.
The Kanu of matter as well.
Yes.
And I remember some persons telling me yesterday, because we had a guest and we're having a conversation with regards to development, with regards to the Igboho issue, and a guest was speaking, and this person gets across to me saying there is also an El-Zakzaky who is being held by the government. So why this kind of statements? And now we see that he has been released. The issue now with regards to government's handling of the matters, because we already know that there are tensions across ethnic lines.
Yes.
A lot of persons are watching the body language of governments with regards to other matters.
Yes.
So how do you think government can navigate these waters such that there are no tensions? We already see threats already coming out of the southeast with regard to Nnamdi Kanu already. And I don't know what you think this might, bring to the fore with regards to developments across the country stemming from this release of El-Zakzaky.
Like you said, everyone is watching. Everyone is trying to see if maybe there are going to be sacred cows with this entire conversation. Because now you held El-Zakzaky for years. The court has said he should be a free man. Are you holding Nnamdi Kanu on similar charges? And after some time, are the courts still going to rule in the same way? Now this also brings to bear the conversation around why some persons don't want someone like Igboho to be extradited into Nigeria, saying that he won't get justice, that he will just be detained indefinitely for a couple of years, he will lose his freedom, and all of that. For me, in a country where we claim to practice democracy, because I say claim, in a country where we claim to practice democracy, we don't get to see a lot of justice and equity in how we conduct our business, especially from the side of the government, which for me, it is something that they need to really, really look into to have the confidence of the people restored in them.
Because this is the same argument a lot of persons are saying that is at the core
Yes.
of the persons we see agitating for one thing or the other. At
Yes.
the end of the day, if government is not addressing those issues of injustice.
Exactly. So the government needs to address the issues of injustice and inequality. It is very important that they look into those issues and they look at them impartially and look at them sincerely, because we've been saying these things for some time now, and somehow they think that maybe we're trying to bash them. No, we're saying that some folks have come up to say that they have certain issues with how they are being treated in the same country, that they're supposed to have equal rights, they are also equal stakeholders. Have you bothered to have a conversation or even listen to their grievances to see if it has any merit? If it is lacking in merit, have you come out to say that, okay, these are your points, as opposed to saying that, oh, maybe you're prescribing them or you're saying that you're hunting them around? Government needs to understand that they cannot govern without carrying people along. It's not possible, or else you're just running your own show. So they need to understand that basic fact, that basic element in governance,
But
that you need to carry people
it seems
along.
this is something, like you pointed out, that we have been speaking about over and over.
Yes.
Why is it so difficult to have that conversation and listen to people, listen to what their grievances are, and ensure, because the president has always said that the unity of this country is non-negotiable. So why are we not ensuring that we bring everybody to the table and understand what our grievances are if we say unity is core for our moving forward?
Yes, so unity is non-negotiable, but talk is also cheap. The question is, unity is non-negotiable, but the various elements that ensure that we are united, are they addressing it? Is it an issue of maybe government looking at them and saying that, okay, you know what, you're small fries to us, we can't bother to have a conversation with you, or maybe you're not persons, or you're not raising issues of consequence? Is that what we're looking at? Because for me, I have always asked this question: why isn't the government actively having conversations with these guys? Why are they doing it? Because, I mean, if you're able to address grievances, you will not be able to, practically speaking, okay, you will not be able to address everything, but there should be a middle ground.
Absolutely.
There should be a middle ground. So that is what we're saying. But everyone is trying to dwell in absolutes. We are saying that, okay, if we don't get this, it's nothing. If you don't do this, it's all or nothing. You can't run a government like that. It's not possible. It's not possible. Talking about unity, it is important that they are very deliberate about harnessing the elements that foster said unity in our country.
Very, very important, and that's a fine place to leave it. Leave this conversation. Strategy consultant Dikpo Oyewole, thank you so much for your time on the program.
Thank you for having me.